Learn what Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it matters. Bitcoin 101, your ultimate guide to the fundamentals of blockchain.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Today, I got Buck, Phiat, and HEXistany Dylan joining us today. Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
Pretty good. Yeah, definitely. Buck, can you hear us?
I sure can. Yeah, we're really excited to be here. Thanks for having us, Brittany. I think congrats on doing your first live stream. I think this is our first stream with a lady as well, isn't it, Dylan? Or have we done any other ones?
This will be our second stream, but
who was the first lady?
Klaz and
Klaz. Yeah, I forgot Klaz. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's our first stream with an American lady. Okay, so yeah, we're all sorts of firsts. Yeah.
Hey, it's a first for me too. This is the first time I'm going live on my channel, so I just appreciate you guys coming on and being willing to chat with me today. I know there's a bunch of fun topics that I wanted to get into. Oh gosh, there's something's going on here. Hold up, I was hearing some feedback. I apologize about that. What is going on? All right. Yeah. Anyway, about that. So, guys, Buck, I guess we'll start with you, man. You know, I know you've got like a background in as like an investment professional, and I know you're building projects for Pulse. So maybe you could give me like a quick rundown or a brief history of like what your journey was into the space so far.
Yeah, sure. So basically, been in finance my whole career doing investments. For going on now, it's almost 20 years. Going back to before Lehman Brothers. I was interested in crypto kind of early on. I naturally have these sort of libertarian tendencies, although I don't describe myself as such. But I looked at what was happening with Lehman Brothers, and with a bit of distaste, and Bitcoin really came out of that, and to me at that stage of my life, feeling quite cynical about everything, I was quite attracted to it. Unfortunately, I didn't really have the technical ability to get into crypto until quite a few years later. Not for lack of trying, but it was just too hard to do Bitcoin back in the beginning. But I got into it in 2013, and during the bull market that was going on then, bought the top and got absolutely annihilated. But yeah, but the top was only $1,000 back then, so it's not so bad. But yeah, so I've been through a few cycles now in crypto and obviously in traditional markets. I got into Hex on day one, but only in a very small way. And I waited for it to drop 98% before I kind of actually invested a decent amount, and bought Hex on Baidesk for 1 Satoshi, which I'm quite proud of. And then, yeah, I've been in the community ever since. I'm not necessarily a super moon boy or anything like that, but I do see a lot of potential in what Richard's doing. About a year ago, I went to London and went to the 731 party, and coming back from that, I really understood just how enthusiastic and organized the community had become, and I realized there was a potential to sort of recreate a lot of things that already existed on Ethereum, but probably weren't going to be addressed at least immediately by Richard. So we went about getting to work on forking Aave first, which is what we're doing with Phiat.io, and also now getting to work on a leverage perp exchange, which we're calling famous.io, which is obviously the thing that we began the sacrifice for a week ago. So that's sort of been the journey over the last 3 years with us. Yeah, I guess Dylan, maybe tell everybody about yourself as well.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the space since late 2017. I kind of watched Bitcoin top in December. I was watching some obscure ticker, like if you type BTC ticker in Google, and then you find this website with a black backdrop and some just real basic charting stuff. But it shows you the inflows and outflows and the order book of a range of exchanges. I think it's like Kraken, Coinbase, Bitstamp, Bitfinex, things like that. And I was watching that and I got hooked. It was pretty exciting to watch all that money move in and out of the market and everything like that. Started my journey buying Ethereum, etc. Through 2018. Went from Ethereum to Bitcoin before it went below 0.06 of a Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. And then, I found Richard in 2018. I followed his journey roughly, of him starting, Bitcoin Hex, just one day, just on a stream, like, hey guys, I'm forking Bitcoin. It's going to be called Bitcoin Hex. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So I stuck around, heard what he had to say. And then, been a Hex investor since day one. I didn't wait like Buck did. I FOMO'd in day one. Is what it is. And then,
so how did you find
Buck? I'll let you know. So I became a Telegram admin. I would say in 2021, early 2021. And so, I've been, a Telegram admin for Richard for quite a while now. And Buck noticed me because I was one of the only ones that would unban the people that were bearish in the trading chats, right? So, I was introduced in some of the private chats with some of the people that were banned and everything like this, right? The naughty people. And, I grew a relationship with them over the years, and basically talked to them pretty much every single day for the past year and a half. So that journey's been pretty cool as well. So that's how I met Buck and a lot of the other bigger, notable fudsters, I guess you could say. But they're all good. They're all smart. So I learn a lot from them.
So yeah, man, and we're glad to have you. So you guys started off with like the whole fiat journey, and now you guys are building out Famous. So I have to ask, like, how big is the team, and who's all helping you get this going?
Sure, yeah. So the core team is just 2 devs and Buck, right? And then I'm just like the liaison to chat with you guys and everything like this, and tell you what we're doing and stuff. Dev has been working professionally with, Buck has been working professionally with the devs for, I think, about a decade now. So they have a pretty close relationship, in the professional field, and, just their personal lives and stuff. That's basically, our team and everything. It's pretty simple.
Was there anything in particular, like when you guys got together, that you were like, oh man, we have to build this. We have to build this out. Like, do you know what the thought process was that like led you all here? Like,
yeah. So Buck, after Buck went to the London thing,
yeah,
he realized, that there's going to be a lot of value coming to Pulse Chain, and that, there's going to be some voids to fill, right? And so basically, he went to the devs and was like, hey, what's the easiest thing we can fork for Pulse Chain? And this is, I wasn't a part of any of this in the beginning, right? I came in later, but they came with Aave. They started with Aave, forked that, got it running on testnet, and then I was made aware of what they were doing, and I, being someone that is diehard Hex, right? I saw what he was doing, and I was like, wow, this is actually extremely useful, and I want to be a part of this. This is exciting,
It sounds.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it sounds like you like to jump in feet first and be the first into projects, not just with this, but like you said, you were first in with Hex too.
Yeah, so yeah, I think there's a little bit of a similarity there. I did, I was busting Buck's balls, right? Just the normal Hexagon thing, but it made a lot of sense. So it would have been silly for me not to help him out and everything as much as I could. So I decided to help him.
Yeah, it actually looks like we lost Buck. What happened?
It says in the private chat he's got a slight audio issue, so he said he'd be right back.
I didn't see that. Right. Okay, so I guess, why did you guys choose to fork DMX? Were there others in the beginning that you thought about utilizing, or was it just like a no-brainer? I know you said you weren't like quite around like at the very beginning, but as somebody who knows like kind of the history, do you know why that was the decisions that were made?
Yeah, so forking one of these leverage trading DeFi protocols, is a really smart idea. People are going to use it. There's going to be demand, and we want to be the people that provide this for the community, right? And we don't want some random person that nobody knows and that probably doesn't speak our language to fork this and then give it to the community, right? We probably don't want to do that or have that, so Buck and the devs, they forked it as fast as they could after they were made aware of it, which they've known about it since February, I believe. And after they forked Fiat, they started forking this shortly thereafter, after in April and stuff. And that was enough time for it to be around and to be working and, working quite well. And I mean, GMX has only been out for a little over a year and it's been doing fabulously, especially in this bear market.
I'm looking forward to seeing, like just how everything's going to work, what it looks like, so on and so forth. But so let's just get into the basics of it. What all different services is Famous going to provide? Like, what will the platform offer?
Sure. So with Famous, you'll be able to, open up leveraged positions on your favorite Richard Hart coins. Things like Pulse, PulseX, Hex, Hedron. On testnet right now, we even have like Zen on there, so you can short Zen to your heart's content, right? And you'll be able to open up levered positions, from 1.1x to 30x is I think what we have enabled at the moment. And you'll have a range of leverage that you can use to hedge your positions, to bet on price, to increase your exposure to price movement, right? And also you'll be able to stake the Phame token and get a 40% of the fees generated by the platform through traders trading the coins, betting on price, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's very valuable in that aspect just alone. So.
And I know you said there's only a couple of people in the team working to get this built out right now, but how's the process been so far, integrating all these ideas that you guys have into the platform to make it work? Has it been difficult? Have you had a lot of challenges?
I don't know if the devs have had challenges. I know they've changed a few things to the code base and made a few things a little bit better. But I mean, we can see it operating right now on testnet pretty well at the moment. I mean, if you wanted to, I can show you here now if you want.
Yeah, let's see it.
Look who's back. The man of the hour.
That's my fault, guys. Sorry about that. My alarm went off and it messed with my AirPod connections. And being a Zoomer, or sorry, not being a Zoomer like Dylan, I have issues with technology sometimes.
You're good, bud. So what are we looking at, Dylan?
So this is the Famous dashboard. This basically shows you the PHLP composition, or basically what you would see as a liquidity provider of the Phame platform. You provide any one of these tokens as liquidity, and you get you get a PHLP token as a redemption, right? So whenever you want to withdraw your LP, you sell it back for a PHLP token through the platform, and then you get your liquidity back. And you can, say you insert USDC, and then you get PHLP. At any point, you can either withdraw USDC, or you could withdraw Pulse or Hex or Hedron, whatever you desire, right? So, and another cool thing about PHLP, you get a broad exposure to all of the coins that you are providing, that the platform is using to provide liquidity with. So that's also, it's like a balanced index for a Pulse chain. So it's pretty cool.
Word. So I'm looking at it. It looks pretty simple. But I'm curious, like what type of what wallets are going to be used, how deposits and withdrawals will work specifically, and like, is there going to be a registration process? And if so, what would that look like? Are you going to have to be KYC'd?
No, this is DeFi, right? It's like using Uniswap. It's it works in a similar way. You provide liquidity for Uniswap. You get NFTs as your placeholder for providing liquidity. With PulseX, you get liquidity tokens, and then with Famous, you'll just get PHLP tokens essentially. And when you provide LP and stuff, and then when you actually trade these ticker symbols, you'll basically just be opening a position on the platform, and that position will stay open in the smart contract and until you close it or until you get liquidated. So it's handled all on chain and everything. But yeah, there's no KYC or anything like that. It's just like Uniswap. And that's
I figured as much. It's good for the clarification though, for anybody that's like isn't part of this community type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm curious, so what type of services is the platform going to offer that would be like extremely useful to new traders? Or is this just simply for experienced traders who know how to don't get wrecked essentially from over leveraging themselves?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're not familiar with using leverage and stuff like that, your best bet is probably to just be a staker. That's the least risky for you in that sort of regard. But I mean, if you're familiar with leverage and understand its complexities and stuff, this is a great tool for you to utilize. Somebody that's sophisticated enough could hedge their hex position. Let's say they had a bunch of stakes, right? And they thought that the market was topped out, okay? And well, since they're staked, they can't really sell their hex, right? So with this, you'd be able to open up a levered position to get a little bit more exposure and short the hex price, okay? With with smaller amounts of capital, okay? And you can kind of soften the blow on a downturn by hedging your bets. Right, so it's kind of like an insurance policy of sorts. If you think the market's getting a little too toppy because people are dancing on coffins, at 50 cents, which happens.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about Phatty. So could you just explain, like what Phatty is, what it does, and like what I'm sorry, not Phatty, but Phame. And so what the use case is for Phame, and what does it do? What's its use case? That sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. So, you can SAC for the Phame token right now if you just, join or go to the website, famous.io. And then when Pulse Chain does actually come out, you'll be able to stake your Phame. As you can see here, I have 65 Phame staked, and I am a Phame turtle. And then as traders are trading and the platform is accruing fees, you'll just get a share of the revenue in various tokens that will be supported. So that's pretty cool. And the Phame token itself does not inflate. its supply is fixed at 55,555,000 coins, max supply. And so it can either only be a static, supply, or deflationary as people lose their coins and such. So, I think the greatest use case for it is basically collecting fees from traders, right? That's the use case.
Right. And so how will fees be paid out to stakers? Are you getting more Phame, or are you able to pick out a different coin to get paid out in, or how does that work?
So basically you'd just be collecting like a basket of all the currencies. So, I have like 3 cents of Pulse, 2 cents of Hex, 2 cents of USDC, and then, some dust on some of these other currencies. So it's based on use. So if more people are using one particular asset, you'll get more of that asset. If people are using others, you'll get others. And then essentially you just, you claim, and then it just gives you all of them at the same time in your wallet. So it's pretty straightforward.
Does that mean like impermanent loss is something that stakers will have to like think about? Does that apply here?
Well, no, I mean, if you're a staker, the only thing that you're worried about is the fee generation on the platform. So, you don't incur any sort of impermanent loss or anything like that. You're just, you might be worried about price movement of the Phame token. That could be something that, you're worried about, but you're not providing any sort of liquidity.
They're directly related, right? So the Phame token's value is the market's estimate of future fees generated by the platform. So the risk you're taking with the Phame token, and I always like to talk in terms of risk and reward, is that the platform itself will have more or less fees, right? The fees that you've already generated, they're not part of the token's value. That's the past. That's backward looking. So with the Phame token, you're taking the risk that the platform continues to excel and generates lots of fees. Whereas with the PHLP pooling, you're basically providing liquidity and betting against the traders, and you're earning platform fees as well on top of it. So it's a little bit more complex as a bet, but you can do both. And that's the beauty of this platform. It allows you to do whichever bet you want to make, or whatever bets you want to make. So you might be long Hex, short Pulse Hex. You might be staking Phame. You might be providing PHLP, right? And depending on where you think you are in the market, or what use cases suit your needs, you can take any of these bets, which is really important because that means it's fair. The reason things like Binance aren't very fair is because the house wins and you don't get to be the house. Whereas with this, you get to choose. And they all have their different risks and their different reward profiles. So it's just an absolute beauty of a protocol for that reason, and a big improvement over what we currently have, being DeFi, being owned in a decentralized manner by the community, as opposed to some guy like SBF or CZ.
There it is. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like for those for anybody listening in who don't know, like kind of what's going on and everything, they may be looking at this and being like, well, how is it different than, any other trading platform out there, exchange, that type of thing. And I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's DeFi. So, but I know that you guys have been on like a whirlwind tour lately, talking about this a lot. And as I understand, like the sacrifice for Phame actually started on Friday. Is that correct?
Yep, Friday at 3 Eastern, last Friday.
And how's that going so far? What are you able to sacrifice, and how much are you, like, how does the tiers work for how much you sacrifice versus how much you can expect to kind of receive there? How does that process work? Am I lagging?
No, you're fine. I was going to let Dylan answer that question. So we're currently in pool A, tier 2. Basically, the earlier tiers have filled up pretty much instantly. We'll be in this tier, probably for quite some time, probably until the end of the sacrifice, I would imagine. It's a pretty interesting thing from a valuation standpoint, because you're sacrificing for two tokens here. You're getting a portion of Phame, and you're also getting a portion of Fiat. So that's fiat on Ethereum. And we've done some sort of back of the envelope calculations, but the fully diluted value, which is taking into account the treasury, which is never going to sell, and the team, which is committed to 12 months, is really like in the 20s for when you add these two together, right? So this is incredibly cheap when you think about the possibility of Aave with inferior tokenomics being worth roughly $1 billion, and GMX being worth roughly $500 million. There's a lot of meat on the bone here, and the kind of key thing to think about is what is the likelihood that Pulse Chain is going to be a thing, and what kind of success will Pulse Chain have? Like, I think those are the first two questions you want to answer, and then what is the likelihood that we're going to be the dominant leverage trading platform on Pulse Chain, and what is the likelihood that we're going to be the dominant borrowing and lending platform through fiat on Pulse Chain? I would argue we're off to a pretty good start. We've got basically the largest users in the community behind us now, and they've shown through that sacrifice of 5.4 million now, approximately, that they're behind us pretty clearly. So it's going to be very hard for any new entrants to come in now. So yeah, I think those are the kind of things you want to ask yourself. And then, yeah, lastly, there's quite a bit of upside from here. Those valuations are at the bottom of a bear market, and these platforms just keep throwing off cash every single day. GMX is up 70% year to date, whereas most of crypto, including Hex, is down 70, 80, 90%, right? So it shows you the power of having a token that actually has cash flows attached to it. But also keep in mind that if we do begin to recover, those cash flows have positive operating leverage, which means that the value of those cash flows increases with the value of the underlying tokens. So yeah, it's really quite exciting when you think about it, and we can't wait to see what happens when Pulse Chain gets here with these sorts of things. The wealthiest people in the world tend to be the people that control financial services like this. If you think about it, the Warren Buffetts of the world, Warren Buffett basically is an insurance guy, right? The wealthiest guys in crypto, CZ, runs a trading platform. Sam, until he became a massive fraud, also ran a trading platform, right? So there's a reason that JP Morgan was the richest guy in the world, because he was basically helping everybody doing borrowing and lending in the early high yield bond market in the 19th century. So it's a very nice niche that we've carved out for ourselves in Pulse Chain, and I think we're pretty far ahead of anybody else that wants to come compete against us. So yeah, that's my diatribe on that.
That sounds good, man. I mean, like I said, I'm super excited to see where this goes. Now, as I understand it, since Pulse hasn't launched yet, you guys are, building elsewhere at the moment, and so I'm curious, will Famous still be on ETH once Pulse launches, or what happens with that?
So Fiat will launch on ETH in Q1. With Famous, we're not saying anything about other L2s besides Pulse Chain yet, or sorry, other L1s besides Pulse Chain just yet. So have no expectations of any other L1 besides Pulse Chain for the moment. And yeah, that's about as far as we're committing ourselves currently. But yeah, as you can see through eFiat, we do have a desire to be multi-chain. We're not, we're definitely people very committed to the Pulse chain community, but we're also people that want to bring on lots of users and grow the platform across chains as well. And we believe in diversification, which is, one of the key tenets of investment. So we're gonna help people do that as well.
Before you cut out earlier, I was talking to Dylan, and I asked him. I said, like, what was the thought process that led you guys here? And like you said, you're filling a niche that on Pulse that wasn't quite there. So you guys are filling a need in the community now. And so I'm curious, what is this whole fiat thing, and what does that look like? And I guess give me the spiel on that, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, Dylan, if you can bring it up on your screen, and I'll give the elevator pitch. So Fiat is a fork of Aave V2. Aave is essentially a bank on the blockchain. So if you're familiar with the CeFi analogs to this, they're things like our friends Celsius, our friends BlockFi, our friends Voyager, all these things that enabled you to deposit your crypto and borrow stable coins against it. The difference is that this is happening on the blockchain, and it's completely decentralized and transparent. So while BlockFi and Celsius and Voyager went bankrupt because they had incompetent or fraudulent middlemen running them, this thing is working beautifully. And this thing's been serving exactly the same customer base, including Three Arrows Capital. So borrowing and lending is an essential component of the economy. If you think about it, most people don't even realize what a bank does. But to give you the kind of baseline business model of a bank, they take depositors' money, they pay you a deposit rate, which you see on the left there in the APY. So 0.41% for Pulse on Pulse chain right now. Not a great deposit rate. I like the Hex rate better, 2.95%. And they lend it out to somebody else who needs that money to maybe go start a business or get a mortgage or buy a car or whatever, right? And they lend that out at 15.51%. That's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, I'm paying a lot for that loan.
You're getting sucked on that loan, Dylan. Sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
So the difference between those two rates, the 2.95 and the 15.51, is called the net interest margin. It's the spread that the banks earn, and as a fiat token staker, you're earning that spread, and that those are your rewards there. And you can see Dylan's earning, a decent amount of Pulse, Test Pulse, and Pulse X, and all that stuff. So this is really interesting, right? So most of the crypto that we all use doesn't have an actual cash flow attached to it, but many of them will have inflation attached to it, like Hex does. But these are actual cash flows. So these are, as people use these protocols, you're actually able to withdraw these things and sell them, just like you owned a bank, effectively. So it's quite an amazing thing. Now, when you do this on Aave, the Aave guys keep the money, so their token doesn't really pay you anything. So we fixed that. And made it so that our token actually gives you the rewards. So yeah, that's the beauty of it. This platform gets used by the biggest users in crypto. Typically, it's not so familiar to many hexicans, but that's okay in a way, because the big boys, the guys that move around hundreds of millions of dollars, like Justin Sun, who started Tron, will keep $1 billion on Aave. There's literally 12 billion TVL last time I checked. could be a little bit less if markets have moved down. But to give you an idea, this is where the whales are, basically earning yield and taking out leverage in DeFi. So it has big ramifications for Pulse Chain, because this will be something very familiar to those people, and it'll be something that allows them to actually get invested for the first time. And it also enables things like flash loans as well, which are very important for doing arbitrage and whatnot. So so Fiat's quite an impressive thing, but its use case is less apparent to the average hexagon. Whereas with Famous.io, everybody kind of gets why such a thing is useful and why it's likely to be profitable. But if you think about it, with Fiat, we've basically created the bank, and with Famous.io, we've basically created the stock exchange, or the options exchange, or futures exchange, if you want to use that as an analogy. And yeah, Dylan's helpfully brought up some of these fees. So just yesterday, GMX, which is on Arbitrum and AVAX, so not even Ethereum, but two relatively dispossessed L2s, made $272,000 in fees, US, and Aave did $161,000 in fees. So that gives you an idea of what's possible with these sort of protocols when you have a good market share and when you're the dominant player. So yeah, that's what we're playing for. We would like to compete against Aave a little bit on Ethereum as well, take some of those fees away. And yeah, these protocols are complex and difficult to run. They do require things like oracles. They do require liquidation bots. We look at this as a nice thing, because it means that it's not so easy for competition to come in and compete against us. You can't just hire consultants and expect them to build this for you and then run it yourself, right? You really need to have a team of people who have a strong computer science background, who are committed to this and are going to be around for the long term. So there were a number of people that tried to fork Aave in the community, and they gave up. And some of them became investors in Fiat for this reason. So, which I think is quite an enlightened thing to do. But yeah, so we're really playing for. I think if you look at crypto, like, honestly, Brittany, the only major innovation that we've had since Bitcoin came was Uniswap, right? Uniswap was the biggest innovation, right? It enables you to basically trustlessly exchange tokens, right? Massive thing, right? Basically, recreating the NASDAQ on the blockchain. But since then, most of crypto is pretty terrible, and there's only a few things that are really interesting in crypto. One of them is Aave, one of them is GMX, and probably Curve's pretty interesting as well, I'd say. But the vast majority of it's pretty useless. And I think what people will figure out is that in the next cycle, people are going to want to actually have real utility in these protocols, and they're going to want to generate fees and have actual fundamental value underpinning the value of their tokens going forward. So it's something that, when you realize how so working in traditional finance, I can tell you need tens of thousands of people to make platforms like this work in the real world, and even when you do that, you still oftentimes mess up, like Celsius did, or BlockFi. Like BlockFi, I don't even think did anything bad, right? They just couldn't survive because of
bet on the wrong horse.
Well, no, their counterparties basically died, right? So in the traditional finance world, if you're Morgan Stanley and Goldman's and Lehman Brothers dies, you die too. The only thing that can save you is the U.S. government, which is what happened, right? But in crypto, you don't you can't count on the government to step in and save you in CeFi land. But the beauty of DeFi is that this will never happen, because you can see Aave's health in real time, and when things go wrong with CeFi, they can commit fraud, they can lie about it, they can be deceitful, right? So it just shows you what an improvement DeFi is over everything that's happening in CeFi land. And to me, it gives me the best hope that we're actually doing something useful for crypto, with crypto in general, because I'm not a big fan of dog coins and things like that, but this is actually quite a useful thing, being able to borrow and lend against your assets without asking anybody's permission, right? It's a wonderful thing. Imagine you're doing pretty well with Hex, and you want to take out $100,000 to go buy a house, right? You can do that now, right, through this platform. So whereas before, you'd have to go to some guy like Mashinsky and go, "Hey, Mashinsky, take my Hex," right? And the thing is, Mashinsky doesn't want to take your Hex because Richard hates these guys, and now we understand why. And it is always railed against them, and now we understand why when we see SBF as well. So like to me, it's just something that is really, really important. Dylan, did you play the video of Richard, by the way? I don't know if you have it, Andy.
No, I haven't played that, no.
Yeah, but it's pretty funny, because basically Richard shows you, it's an old video. Yeah, if you've got it handy, I don't know if you have the link, but it just gives you an idea of like how Richard kind of foresaw all this stuff coming, and also how he wanted to, how he saw a better way to do things as well, and like literally asked the community to go away and do it, about as explicitly as Richard can. So like there was one comment from somebody going, "Wow, what a brilliant piece of shit idea! A leverage position on Hex coins." Like, yeah, no, I get where that sentiment's coming from. This is Richard always tells you not to trade, but what TS should know is that these sort of platforms are coming to Pulse Chain no matter what. And would you rather the community own them? Would you rather they be DeFi, or would you rather they be owned by some guy like Mashinsky and Sam Bankman-Fried, like that? Because that's your alternative, right? So from my perspective, I think we're better off having this owned by the community, not really owned, in a concentrated manner by myself, right? I'm going to be a single-digit owner of these, and we're better off having everybody basically using our platform so that the rewards go to the community. Oh, there's Richard. Do you have audio on that?
Yeah, give me a second. It's probably not going to sound very good, but here goes.
Here goes. I can't hear it.
That's weird.
I can't hear it on my end, Dylan.
I can't hear
Can
it
you hear
either.
Brittany?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, basically what Richard says is somebody please let you short Hex, preferably on DeFi. Somebody please build a platform that would enable this. So anyway, so Richard didn't say Aave at this point, but he was talking about Aave, yeah. So we quite so we were listening, and we thought, yeah, this will be great. And the funny thing is, we've had lots of guys come to us who are skeptics of Hex, some prominent ones, as a matter of fact, and say that they're actually interested in Pulse Chain now for the first time because we're building things like this, and they're actually starting to rethink. Well, hold on, if the community can build all these things that currently run on Ethereum, then maybe Pulse chain could actually be useful in their mind. And obviously Ethereum is quite expensive to run a lot of these protocols as well. So, we might actually be able to have a better usage of them on Pulse chain in some instances than on Ethereum. Like GMX, for example, is probably not on Ethereum currently because of gas fees. That's probably the reality. So, yeah.
And yeah, as I understand it, like there really wasn't too much done to Ethereum 2.0 in terms of like throughput or lowering gas fees with the switch from proof of work to proof of stake. And I know I touched on this a little bit with Rags and Crypto Heartbeat. And I was like, well, what exactly is being changed to Pulse to allow that increase in throughput and low gas fees? I know that initially starting off, things should be relatively low, but as more and more users come onto the network, are we going to be essentially looking at another crisis in gas fees, especially if it just blows up overnight?
We're going to have so much money by then, Brittany, that we won't worry about that for a while.
That's a great problem to have in the future.
Yeah, we would love that. We would love that problem, Brittany. That's bring that one on where Pulse chain fills up. That sounds great to me. And yeah, probably by then we'll have the Shanghai thing, and maybe even sharding. I'm worried about the other scenario where we don't get a lot of interest to Pulse chain personally. But yeah, let's definitely have Pulse chain fill up. That would be very good for everybody's bags.
So I got to ask, because there was a couple of things that I was thinking about as you were speaking. One of which, obviously with your background and finance and everything, this didn't seem like much of a jump to go from where you were to this. I mean, it makes sense as far as evolution goes as to why you would be here now. But is there any like legal concerns that you have about creating this? Any factors that you feel like could worry, like regulatory compliance things? I mean, licensing, anything like that you're like, oh, well, this is what we did in order to get around that, or are you just like, fuck it, because it's DeFi and you can't stop it and it's just going to happen? Like, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of the latter there for sure. But from my perspective, I think we're about 10 years right now. The world's run by baby boomers, right? But in about 10 years time, millennials and Zoomers are going to basically be in office. And just as you saw with things like Uber or Airbnb, these things were sort of in a gray area from a regulatory standpoint, early in their history. But ultimately, the public saw the utility in these things and said, "Yeah, actually, we really like this. This is a useful thing. Don't ban Uber. That'd be stupid, right?" And I think the same thing is going to happen with crypto as well, right? There's certain things that they're not going to tolerate, and I think things like Tornado Cash, and I'm not philosophically against Tornado Cash personally, but I think things like that will ultimately draw the ire of regulation. But I do not think democracies are going to be trying to stop new technology that they don't understand. But that is very popular with young people. That'd be like trying to stop the internet in the 90s, right? And one thing early on, you're probably younger than me, Brittany, but I was around for the beginning of the internet as a consumer in the mid 90s, and they were all obsessed at that point. Should we tax it? And the internet basically said, no, we're not going to do that. Don't do that, guys, because this thing's in its infancy. You don't want to kill it, right? So that allowed things like Amazon to basically operate, and the industry grew phenomenally. So I think something similar like that is going to happen in crypto. I think good actors are going to be treated well. I think bad actors will be treated poorly. I think the CFI guys are definitely going to be under a very tight regulatory regime. And having worked, in finance following Lehman Brothers, I can tell you what that means. It just means it's a headache for everybody working there. But they're going to be under much more supervision. They're going to have to hire way more compliance people. They're going to have a lot more overhead, things like that. But in reality, DeFi, is the shining city on the hill, in my opinion. And it's just going to take a little bit of time before enough people understand that. And I can already see it happening. A family member of mine is friends with a U.S. senator who's quite into crypto, and like listening to her, it's pretty clear to me that she understands the value inherent in these things, and you see other people as well. So in democracies, I don't worry about it. In terms of authoritarian countries, they can try and ban these things, but like you said, yeah, it's pretty hard to stop them. You can run these things; they're just code. Anybody can run the front end, so you can't really stop them. Yeah, and I think ultimately you do the right thing by people. They're going to be vocal and they're going to be on your side if things ever go wrong on the regulatory front. It's when you do shitty things that you get people complaining.
That's I mean that's more or less kind of how I thought you were going to answer that. And I think it's on point. I'm not saying I disagree with that at all. I think it's just kind of how it is for right now. I think there's enough regulatory mumbo jumbo in the books right now to kind of catch anybody doing anything maliciously under like the current laws as they're written at the moment. So, why would they want to sit there and go full force against something like this at the moment when they got bigger fish to fry, so to speak? But as you were talking to, and Dylan was showing us, like Aave and the pie shares there, so to speak. You were talking about how there's been no other innovations, in crypto so far. And I'm curious, man, like after this, do you guys have any plans to build out anything else? Do you see crypto as only being a means to exchange, like a means of medium of exchange, or do you see it actually facilitating something bigger later on down the road?
Oh, definitely, it's going to facilitate many things. What I see it doing currently is it's slowly reproducing the traditional finance world, which largely was immune from the digitization that occurred in brick and mortar stuff the last 20 years, right? So, the Amazon effect, if you will. But the internet came and disrupted all of business, all of commerce. It didn't have a big impact on traditional finance, whereas crypto has that ability. So I expect to see more of that. And as you get a more digitally native economy built out with younger people who, have the majority of their wealth in this stuff sometimes, and are very comfortable with it and have always had it, I think you'll start to see it having more and more impacts beyond the traditional finance world. Things like the metaverse and ticketing and all the NFTs, art, all this stuff. It's really hard to imagine it right now, and I can't do it justice. But the internet was a good example of this. The internet sucked when I first used it. I sent an email as a first grader in maybe 1989 or something like that. It took about 45 minutes, right? And we sent it as a class. We said, hey, we're a class, a first grade class, at this school, and we sent it to some school in Pennsylvania, on the other side.
Were you going through DOS?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was an old Mac. It was one of those really ancient Macs. So it was pre Windows 95, right? But it took like literally a half an hour to send an email, and and then 5 years later, we had personal emails, and you could download very slowly photos of naked women if you were entering puberty, as I was, and thinking, well, this is amazing, right? And then, shortly thereafter, you had video games like Quake, right? And you started to get, proper e-commerce, around the year 2000 with the original .com boom, right? And then, you started to get mobile and 3G and all these things a few years later. So I think crypto's on a similar arc to this, in that it's going to take a while, and it's still terrible, but by and large, like, crypto's hard to use. It's confusing. There's a lot of scams. It's it's very hard to get a good education in how to use it, right? But I think we'll slowly get there over 5, 10, 15 years, and it'll look way different then than it does now, which is another reason why I think diversification is quite important, because it's going to be very hard to pick the winners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to a future like that, man. And in the immediate term, I'm also looking forward to this. So I gotta ask, when do you believe we could see Famous launch?
Yeah, so if Pulse Chain were live, you'd maybe be looking at maybe 2 months after it. Just from a perspective of, we need to let that initial volatility play out, and make sure that the network is pretty healthy. So yeah, a little bit of patience is required, I think, for that. We don't want to risk the reputation of the platform, and everybody, just trying to launch it too soon. So I think we'll be in line with the other guys on this, like Liquid Loans, for example, who's saying something similar. We'll need stable coins as well to run this platform. So, if there's no stable coins, we can't run the platform. So that's one thing that'll have to be figured out. So yeah, it's probably kind of 2 months after Pulse Chain. We're gonna probably launch Fiat just before this one. That'll be sort of the staging. We'll go Fiat first, and then this one. But actually, in reality, they'll probably be launched around the same time together, depending on when Pulse Chain comes. There's probably a few things we would like to do with this in the meantime. Few things that we might add to it, but yeah, if Pulse Chain came to today, then you'd be looking at probably a few months to get it up. But I think Pulse Chain's probably 3 months away minimum, would be my guess. So I think we're probably waiting for Pulse Chain, and not the other way around, most likely.
I gotcha. Well, guys, I know we're coming up here on the hour-long mark, and I guess I'm curious. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you guys for coming on and kind of showing me the way, and enlightening me a little bit. I gotta ask though, is there anything that you wish that I would have asked that I didn't, and if so, what would that have been? Or do you think we covered everything?
No, I think your questions were great, and congrats on your first live stream. Yeah, no, I think the one you're supposed to ask is, how does everybody find you, and what
Yeah.
like all the how do they look? That's probably the one you need to get in. I'm bad at that stuff though, because I'm not particularly au fait with kind of Zoomer internet stuff. Smash and subscribe. What is this stuff the Zoomers say, Dylan?
Smash, like, and subscribe, bro. That's what you gotta say.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
And Dylan, where can they find more, learn more about Famous and everything that you guys are doing right now?
Of course, yeah. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/famous crypto with a PH, right? Join the Telegram and ask questions to your heart's content at t.me/famousx. It's in my name right there, so can't miss it. And if you so desire to bother Buck in DMs, his DM is right there down in his name as well, t.me/Buck_Fiat. So,
I might give a smart ass answer though if you DM me something silly. So if you like someone nice, Dylan's probably nicer, better to reach out to than me.
Yeah. That's true. Yes. So, but yep, that's where you can find us.
Well, thank you guys again for coming on and joining me on the show today. Thanks for answering all my questions. But I guess with that being said, guys, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Go ahead and hit the smash and hit the buttons. Hit the buttons.
Hit the
And we'll
button.
see you next time.
Thanks, Brittany.
All right. Bye, guys.
Learn what Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it matters. Bitcoin 101, your ultimate guide to the fundamentals of blockchain.
Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. Share this video with a friend, and also follow us on Twitter at BrittanyBitz.